Am I the asshole for teaching my son a lesson and throwing him out after he said household chores are a woman's job? I, a 34 male, got a 16-year-old son with my ex-wife. We split up after I caught her cheating and divorced 2 years ago. Now everything is good between us, and I even consider her a friend. And credit where credit is due, she was a remarkable homemaker and an amazing mother. When we divorced, I had to learn all of this on my own. It was the first time I realized how much work goes into maintaining a house. I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I had to look up YouTube tutorials on how to clean and cook. A few weeks ago, I was ironing mine and my son's clothes, and I told him I wanted to teach him how to do this, as I don't want him falling into the same mistake I did and never learning this on my own. He said he doesn't want to, and I just said he'll have to learn to do this at some point. He then said only failed men do stuff like this, and I won't be one of them. I stopped and looked up, a bit bewildered, and asked him to clarify. He said that it is his belief that it is a woman's job to do, and only simps do simple household chores. I tried to keep my composure as best I could, and I asked if he saw me as a simp, and he just shrugged. I told him to choose his next words carefully, but he will learn household work whether he likes it or not. He again reiterated what he said, and I said, if you think it is a woman's job, then it's time for you to go live with a woman and to pack his bags and go to his mom's house. Surprisingly, she's on my side and just asked me to drop him off at hers, and she'll help teaching him a lesson. It's been about 2 weeks now that he's lived with his mom, and she has been reinforcing the household chores on him. He's called me multiple times to apologize and asking me to come back. His mom and I are agreed that he's going to stick this up for a week or two after the holidays and make him commute to school and do lesser household chores, and then let him come back to me to reinforce the consequence of his beliefs. Am I the asshole? Now, very clearly he's not, though he recognizes he should have taught his son much earlier, and that sending him to his ex-wives is yet another example of women having to bear the brunt of shouldering the emotional and physical labor of teaching men how to be self-sufficient individuals. But it amazes me, the entitled worldview that young men are being raised to, that the moment they step out from under their parents into the world, there's some woman waiting instantly to drop in his life, cook, clean, and do all his chores for him. That none of this is his concern and it can all be filed away as women's work. That women exist solely to just sit patiently in the wings until called for by a man, any man, overjoyed that she can finally fulfill her purpose in life, devoting hers to cleaning up after him. It reminds me of the video I did of the proud masculine men of the Daily Wire bragging that they haven't done chores in years and that they wouldn't be able to figure out how to do laundry even if their lives actually depended on it. Being incompetent is not a flex. Being helpless is not a flex. It's yet another way that these arbitrary and stupid gender roles are so incredibly dangerous. It dehumanizes and devalues women, reducing them to just domestic servants, and it cripples men, making them lack basic life skills that leave them disadvantaged and miserable, reducing adult men to inept toddlers. But it also reiterates a sense of shame, disgust, and worthlessness to being single. Only failed men do stuff like this. The reality is men who are capable of doing their own domestic labor are far more attractive. When I asked women, why are you single? And got over 100 stitches in response, the universal answer was that they were tired of doing all the domestic labor, of having a man who felt it was woman's work and not doing their share. For the majority of us, when we leave the family home, our first experience will be living with roommates, complete strangers who will expect you to clean up after yourself and take care of yourself. There may be a rotation for household chores and you will be expected to pitch in. And if you don't, if you breeze through life thinking that household chores are everyone else's problem, then those roommates will hate you and likely no longer want to live with you. And if you treat your spouse or romantic partner this way, then don't be surprised when they too will hate you and no longer want to live with you. With my own teenage son, he does all his own laundry, he cooks all his own meals, and he's learning more recipes from me so that he's more self-sufficient. It's important, not just for building his self-confidence, his sense of responsibility and control over his own life, but also so that he's not a burden on others. And the thing is, men totally understand this. When we talk about these skills outside of the home as wilderness survival skills, it's seen as something incredibly desirable, something to be proud of, to be self-sufficient, to rely only on yourself, to not be a burden on others. But inside the home, well, then men revert to the status of children, taking no responsibility for their own welfare and expecting someone else to follow them around and clean up after them. That's if they even acknowledge that work at all and don't just believe the magic laundry fairy does it all. Domestic labor is is work. Necessary work that never ends. It's not something you just help with now and again. It is something you need to actively participate in, to plan for and work at throughout your entire life, whether you live alone, with roommates, or with a romantic partner. If you want to be seen as mature, dependable, successful, and able to make an impact on this world, then you need to start by making an impact on your immediate environment, by taking ownership and pride in it, and being responsible for the household chores. Expecting someone else to do all that work for you is a sign that you lack maturity, lack respect for others, struggle with responsibility and accountability, and are generally a miserably selfish person to be around. And you get to choose which of those type of men you want to be.